The Saints crushed the Cowboys. Sam Darnold has another strong game. Let's go over some of the top reactions to the week 2 action. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Football Podcast. We are going to be doing some reactions today. What a great day of football it was. We want to thank our sponsor, Locker. Sign up for Locker now with promo code WIRE and receive a $50 deposit match. I'm Jim Coventry from RotoWire, and you can find me at Jim Coventry NFL. Again, today's show will include the biggest takeaways that I could find from the week 2 action. There'll be more throughout the week. We'll have plenty of these covered on other shows, but let's start out with instant reaction. Number 1, the Saints may be ready to get the most out of Derek Carr and the offense. So week 1, New Orleans plays Carolina. And I'm like, so what? Carolina's not a good defense. J.C. Horn's a good corner. They did lose Derek Brown, their best defender, during the game with an injury. They play Dallas this week. They're at Dallas. All right. There's no way Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence are not going to wreck the New Orleans offense. It's like a done deal to me because Derek Carr, terrible under pressure. Well, what did we see? We saw play action. We saw rollouts, and we saw screens. And I saw Derek Carr clean all day long. Oh, he only had to throw 16 passes. While Dallas was kicking field goals, New Orleans was scoring touchdowns. And then there was Alvin Kamara. We'll get to him in a minute. But Derek Carr, when he's clean, and I know 38 attempts last year of play action. He was number 1 quarterback on play action. But you can go back to his career, back in some of his time with the Raiders. And when he had those years where he was kept clean, he was really good. Well, 2 weeks in this season, the offensive line might be a disaster. But Clint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator, he deserves a ton of credit because Carr has time and he can see his options. Another deep shot to Rashid Shaheed. Chris Olave, again, wasn't needed a lot, but he did get 6 targets, 4 for 81. Came up a little bit short of an end zone score, which would have been nice, would have padded his fantasy day, but after the 2 for 11 last week, we'll take it. But Alvin Kamara, what a day. He torched Dallas on the ground, over 5 yards to carry, almost 6 yards to carry. 3 scores on the ground, not enough. 2 catches for 65 yards and another touchdown. Yeah, it wasn't the Christmas Day game he had a few years back, but it wasn't like crazy far off. 4 touchdowns, 180 yards. Alvin Kamara had room to run. Dallas had no answers on the ground. Dallas had no answers in the receiving game for Kamara. You just saw these large chasms of space, and that was incredible. So anyway, New Orleans going forward. Like I said, if they keep running play action, rollouts, and screens, Derek Carr's not going to be under pressure. If Dallas couldn't pressure him, who's going to pressure him? So it's going to be fun to watch. Alvin Kamara, look, I cited all the numbers in the offseason. Couldn't break tackles, couldn't gain yards after contact, couldn't gain yards at the catch. Looks pretty good to me. Look, in this offense right now, everything is clicking. Wheels up on Chris Olave will be better. Chris Olave will be better. Their defense, look, they held Dallas down. Dallas was shooting themselves in the foot, in my opinion. I think the game plan, they took them lightly, I think. I really do think they took them a little bit lightly offensively. Dallas did not come out sharp on offense. Last week they did. They came out pretty sharp on offense against Cleveland. They had a letdown there. Teams will score on New Orleans. New Orleans need to score more points, but that's good for Chris Olave. And again, right now, ride this while you're hot. If you're a skeptic, trade. But I think a lot of people who are rostering these Saints players, I think they think the bubble's going to burst. So if you need a second quarterback, and you're 2-quarterback league especially, and you think you can make a deal, somebody thinks Carr is going to implode, he might not. Anyway, that was a great takeaway. Very excited for the Saints. We'll see what happens next week, but right now, it's too excited. All right, instant reaction number 2. Maybe Sam Darnold just needed a healthy offense all along. Sam Darnold has been in some really, really bad spots in his career. The Jets, little protection, no weapons, coaching, not so good. Had a stint in Carolina. He's been around. Never had a good scenario. Well, Minnesota, you got Brian O'Neill at one tackle, Christian Darrisaw, outstanding tackle the other side. He's protected. He's got some protection. He's got a running back, Aaron Jones. He can throw him the ball if he needs to. Threat of a running game. Justin Jefferson had a contusion to his quad. He said he's going to play in week 3. Sounds like he'll be fine. But, Jordan Addison missed this one. He'll be back. Jalen Naylor limited targets, did what he could do on that. Certainly, looked good. He had a good camp. So Jalen Naylor can step in here for sure. Down the road, we'll get Hawkinson back probably. Don't know what shape he'll be in. But Sam Darnold right now, and I know Sam Darnold, we've seen him before. We've seen him have 2 and 3 game stints where he looked good. And then all of a sudden he turned into a pumpkin. Defenses figured out what he wanted to do, took some things away. He doesn't have to do a whole lot here. Kevin O'Connell schemes that offense up. And you got an elite receiver like Justin Jefferson, too, that doesn't hurt. 97-yard touchdown pass. Insane. Pulled the trigger on it, didn't think twice. Throw it to Justin Jefferson. What do you got to lose, right? So Vikings beat the 49ers. They beat them last year. But last year was no Trent Williams. There was no Deebo Samuel. 49ers short week. One on Monday night. Could be something to that. These teams on the short weeks often don't do it. But, hey, give the Vikings credit. I mean, the Vikings gave some points, but they hung in offense. They hung in offense. And you got to give Sam Darnold credit here. And this is a tough defense. So we're going to keep saying right now, Sam Darnold has a chance to be better than he's been in his career. Is he going to be a superstar? No, not going to be a superstar. But can he manage this offense and get points on the board and keep him competitive? Yeah, I think he can. All right, let's talk about Locker, the new innovative fantasy app where you try to predict upcoming plays on the field. Take last Thursday, for example. Bills took control of the game. They were going to avoid taking aggressive shots downfield. Important to focus on plays to the running back and the possession receiver. Sure enough, of course, it's how it played up. You got to look at these things. Think through, what's the team going to do? Boom, it hits. Locker has a bunch of different contest structures. They're all centered around answering questions in real time about upcoming plays and drives. The more accurate you are, the more money you can win. We also have a special RotoWire Locker League you can join for $10. The format's simple. Play as many locker contests as you want, and your best 10 scores are counted toward the league standings. Sign up today using the code ROTOLOCKER. You get a $50 deposit match. Join the RotoWire Locker League and showcase your play calling skills with real cash on the line. Instant reaction number 3. Lions put up big yardage. They struggled to find the end zone against Tampa Bay. To a degree, it could somewhat be said that happened in week 1. They got the 3rd touchdown in overtime, which is great. But they moved the ball well last week. 2 regular time touchdowns. What's one in this game? I mean, I shouldn't say that. Jared Goff doesn't throw any. I think I'm kind of losing my thought here a minute. I think Montgomery and Gibbs might have got Montgomery got it for sure. But anyway, they weren't getting touchdowns. They just were kicking field goals. And they couldn't win the game. Buccaneers got an early lead. Hung on to it. Buccaneers just got real conservative, kept giving the Lions the ball back. Lions couldn't make it happen. They not for trying. I'm on Ross St. Brown, like 19 targets in this one. Goes over 100 yards. 19 targets. Made up for last week in a big way, right? Jamison Williams, 11 targets himself. 94 scrimmage yards. He had a rushing attempt in there as well. Jamison Williams is the real deal here. St. Brown's obviously awesome as well. Certainly put up his numbers. J-Mo did it in 2 weeks in a row now. Preseason looked good. He has first full offseason with the team where he's healthy or not in trouble, things like that. So Jamison Williams is a real part of this offense. And it's going to make things tougher on defenses. Lions will figure out how to put the ball in the end zone regularly. That'll happen. Coaching, Ben Johnson's a good offensive coordinator. They'll get that figured out. Not worried. But as it goes, this one was a tough loss because they had every opportunity to pull it out. Jared Goff, like I said, he's completed enough passes, enough yards. But I think he's the one. He's got to find a way to get in the end zone. Coaching will help. But they got to get a little more specific and precise down there. Not so good of a game for Sam Laporta. Year at a tight end right now. Everybody was in on tight ends, and Trey McBride's doing okay over in Arizona. But, man, Laporta, Kelsey, not so hot so far. Don't really have an answer for it just yet. I mean, I think Jamison Williams being involved, I think that puts a crunch on Laporta. As our friend Andrew Cooper from Fantasy Alarm always says, you want your tight end to be the number 2 option in the offense to be big for fantasy. Well, with Jamison Williams right now, that ain't happening because Sam Laporta's good, but Jamison Williams is a game breaker. They can't ignore him. If he keeps playing like this, he's a key to their success. And obviously, I'm on St. Brown as a slot receiver 65% of the time, start as we have it. So again, very strong outing, very excited, but the Lions got to start putting that ball in the end zone. I'm going to go over more of this week's reactions after we take a short break. Instant reaction number 4. Are the Ravens going to figure things out? So 2 games. Ravens obviously lose to the Chiefs. Not a big deal there. It's the Chiefs, right? To the Raiders. Not so good. Ravens are lacking a strong identity on offense. Now, we talked about this a week on different shows. They aren't committed to the run. They ran the ball in the second half, and Derrick Henry did well. A couple big plays, scores his touchdown there. For fantasy, he comes through. But they didn't have that identity early. They had no identity. They don't know what they want to be. They come out sometimes with two tight ends who are both receivers, so they can't protect those three new linemen. And then they decide to run, but then they lose the run-pass balance. There's no flow to it. There's no integration. And, my RotoWire teammate Mario Puig, he really feels that Todd Monken may not have wanted Derrick Henry because he wants, do his passing attack thing. And now he's got to make Henry fit. I don't know if that's true, but the way he's using them sounds plausible. But this team's got to commit to one or the other. And having Henry, that's tough because if you can't run the ball at all, I don't think you want this to be a team that just relies solely on the pass because I don't think they get it done. I just don't think they have the receiving depth to do it. Rashad Bateman's your number 2. And it's kind of tough. You got a couple great tight ends, of course, and you got Zay Flowers. But collectively, that group isn't the type you use to put up a high volume passing attack. You don't have like a classic X receiver in here. That's a problem. So this team, I don't know if they're going to figure this out. You go into the season with a plan that you craft all off season, and Monken had a good first season with the Ravens last year, and it got better as the season went on. But right now, again, like I said, there is no identity, and there's no rhythm with Henry, and I hope they figure it out. But the way to figure it out is they've got to kind of go back. You just either make Isaiah Likely an outside receiver and put him outside instead of Bateman. Don't play him as a tight end. And then you can put Patrick Ricard on the field. Maybe do that. They won't do it. But that would be one way. If you got to have Likely on the field, then put him in at the expense of Bateman. Because Bateman, they say he's a downfield guy, but he doesn't scare anybody. There's no safety saying, oh, crap, I got to get back there and get Bateman. That ain't happening. So Ravens got to find a way to open up the field. And right now, not happening. Instant reaction, number 5. I think it's time to worry about the Rams. We lose Nakua. Now they're saying 5 to 7 week injury. Cooper Kupp, not so good. Goes in a boot, foot injury. Left the stadium that way. And like I said, in that protective walking boot. Probably some imaging on Monday. Not excited about this. I talk about this all the time. Players in their 30s and injury recovery often is not a snap, depending what it is. Maybe he gets lucky, but injury recovery is tough when you get over 30. And I mean it from an NFL standpoint. I mean from like a human standpoint. From an NFL standpoint, we see it all the time. These aging players don't get back on the field quickly. So if you're telling me now, no Nakua for another month, let's say Kupp, I don't know, maybe Nakua and Kupp go both on the IR. What happens to the Rams offense? The offensive line's a disaster right now. Now, Alaric Jackson comes back from the suspension next week, so there's that. Steve Avila's on the IR, though. And the line itself, the guys who are healthy, the line play hasn't been year to year with the Rams. It's been kind of uneven. One year you'll get, real good blocking, and next year you'll see them kind of trash. Starting out the way right now this season, they look kind of trash. And so Kyron Williams getting a nice workload. He's only getting a little more than a couple of yards of carry. No room for him to run, getting hit in the backfield. It's not last year. Last year, the system worked. You got downhill. They had those 3 interior linemen that were just gashing defenses, and saw Williams get chunks of yardage. And Arizona was a team he crushed twice last year. Kyron Williams gets a touchdown 2 weeks in a row, so there's that. You got to like that. But realistically, outside of that, not so hot. So, and Blake Corum, if you're doing box score hunting here, and you see Blake Corum at 8 carries, game was out of hand. It was such an incredible blowout that they got rid of everybody. It was done. I think we'll make part of this 5th reaction the other side of the ball, Arizona. I think this needs to be talked about right now. It is important. Marvin Harrison has his coming out party. Now, Harrison has the big first quarter, but this game got out of hand so quickly. Harrison, they took their foot off the gas. Harrison didn't have to do a whole lot in the second half. He could have had a much bigger game. They could have just kept going after him and attacking. They didn't. James Conner kind of ground the clock down. Conner again, I love James Conner. He's my guy. He's stud again. Just puts up another big stat line, over 100 yards, finds the end zone again. Kyler Murray looked really good. And Harrison, did a nice job getting wide open on a couple plays too. But Murray's running. Murray looks really good running the ball. Throws for 3 touchdowns. Again, took their foot off the gas. He didn't even finish the game. Didn't have to. Just a massive, massive blowout here. So I still contend that I know the offensive line is a real problem for Arizona when they play better teams. But, right now, I think this offense, like I said a couple weeks ago, was top 5 offense this season. Their defense is going to put them usually in spots where they're trailing. And with Murray being mobile, they didn't have to use Michael Wilson. Again, he had the touchdown last week. Only a little bit here. Trey McBride doing fine. He recovered a touchdown. He recovered a fumble on a touchdown where Connor dumped the ball, lost it, but it scored. McBride scored a touchdown. Connor scored on a different play. So it was good there. But yeah, I think Arizona, Drew Petzing really calls that offense up real nice. He did it last year as well with a healthy Murray who can run. Man, there's going to be openings on the field because defense are going to have to make a decision of what they want to do in terms of approach. Arizona's going to be real difficult to handle. Had a question about whether to trade Kelce for Brock Bowers. How do you not at this point? Kansas City offense, it was the fewest passing yards in a game for Mahomes that he started and finished. There was one game I think I heard on the NBC copy where he had didn't finish a game, lowest yardage. Marquise Brown injury kills them. Marquise Brown was part of a two-step plan. It was between Worthy, Brown, different ways you're going to stretch the field. Rashee Rice is fine. Travis Kelce just is, it's little to nothing in 2 games. Last week, Noah Gray outpaced him like 30-something yards. This week, it's like nothing. So at this point, Bowers looks like the deal. He's getting 8, 9 targets a game, eating, doing well with Gardner Minshew. That defense, they're going to have to throw plenty. I don't think they're going to be leading a ton of games, but I think he's a clear number 2 in that offense over Jacoby Myers. It's not even think it's close. Not even close. He's the clear number 2. And back to that line from Andrew Cooper of Fantasy Alarm. Number 2 receiver as a tight end. That's the guy you want. Kelce obviously is the number 2 right now, but there is no real number 2 based on targets. It's Rashee Rice, and it's like a mishmash of everybody else. I don't know what it is. I don't have an answer right now. I mean, we come off of Kelce in the playoffs averaging 21.5 PPR points per game. And all of a sudden, not there. So, yeah, I would trade. You can sell high on Kelce right now. Somebody might buy him. They might say, oh, he'll snap out of it. I don't see anything that makes me think that's going to happen right now. So there's that. Xavier Worthy also in that game. And I'll get to my last reaction in a minute. Xavier Worthy, it was, he had a few touches. He didn't do much with them. I think a few yards. But last week it was 2 touchdowns on 4 touches. And that wasn't sustainable. That wasn't going to happen. So, there's that. All right, let's get to big instant reaction. Number 6. The injuries continue to pile up. It's football. We know this. It always happens. But, man, these injuries are not easy. I think we lucked out with Justin Jefferson. Said earlier in the show, contusion to the quadriceps. Jefferson has already said he hopes to play next week. Sweat that one out. Fortunately, it looks like he'll be good. But the Cooper Kupp injury we talked about earlier, injuring that foot in a boot, very concerned there. Like I said, he and Nakua are gone. Rams are done. I don't know how they're winning games at all because Stafford, and it's really a ragtag group. They're fine when they have other guys helping them. But if they're the main guys, that's a real problem. Isaiah Pacheco, last drive of the game, injures his foot or ankle, leaves the stadium on crutches and in a boot. Maybe he gets lucky. They'll do imaging. We'll hope for the best on Isaiah Pacheco. But as of right now, yeah, it's real cause for concern. And so what they're going to do, you got Carson Steele as a fullback. You got Samaje Perine as a pass catcher. Poor Clyde Edwards-Helaire dealing with non-football related injury. I just call it that. I'm not going to get into detail on that. But so right now, they probably bring in another guy. I don't think they're going to go with Perine and Steele. I don't think that would be the way to go. But if you're doing waivers, well, I'll have a waiver wire video up on the RotoWire site by Monday afternoon. Should be. But right now, I think PPR leagues, you're going to have to look at Samaje Perine. He probably gets 6 or so carries a game. He probably gets 3 to 5 targets a game. So he has definite value now. That's gone up. Carson Steele, like I said, he's more of a fullback. But remember, the way teams defend Kansas City, they always put the shell up. So he'll have free yards. But pay attention throughout the week. Make note if people are making visits into Kansas City because they could add another running back. That would not surprise me for a second. Not sure who that would be, but they definitely could be in the market for one. Don't know if they can kick the tires on Leonard Fournette or not. Don't know if they'd want to, but it could be something they look at. Not sure there. Taysom Hill apparently injured his chest, was taken for evaluation to the hospital. Hopefully Taysom Hill's okay. Limited touches, few touches. They didn't need him in this game, of course. He ran for a crucial first down conversion, so there was that. But so Taysom Hill, we'll see what the injury deal with him is. But right now, the way the Saints are humming, they'll be fine if it's a short-term injury. But again, hopefully Hill's fine. Marshawn Lloyd injures his ankle. had hamstring injury, missed a lot of time, comes back, makes his debut and injures the ankle. We'll find out how that one went. That'll be interesting to see. Tyjae Spears suffers an ankle injury. Pollard had very similar numbers from week 1 to week 2. Spears was ruled out to my understanding. So it could have been he could have gotten more work, but I don't know why they would have, because Spears is good, but Pollard has looked really, really good the first 2 weeks, and he's been very, very successful in moving the ball for them. So I think that's a real important note to take point of, that Tony Pollard right now, I got him as a top 20 running back until something shows me that's otherwise. Tank Bigsby had that good first week, injures his shoulder early. Not a fact, doesn't play really, doesn't really see much time on the field. So we don't know how that all shakes out with him. Dearness Johnson got 5 carries in his stead. But again, Travis Etienne continued to see a little bit more minor of a workload than we want to see. All right, that's our instant reactions. I can just go over a few last couple things while we have time to talk a few things over. Honestly, the Carolina Panthers, I know we have a lot of worse teams we've ever seen. This has got to be close. Bryce Young, like 84 yards passing in a game they trailed. In a game where the Chargers have one really good corner, their free safety was out, a Alohi Gilman, good coverage guy. They could not do anything. They were at home in this game. 26-3. I just don't know what they're going to do. Bryce Young, look, probably a great young man, but as of what I see right now, not an NFL quarterback. I am no genius saying that. Did great at Alabama, of course, but yeah, NFL is not for him right now. I don't know if anything can change, but yeah, this is a real problem. Carolina will pick number 1. We'll see who the player who comes out is. Other notes that we had, I'm going to give Baker Mayfield a little credit here too. What was interesting was Chris Godwin had his entire 117 yards and a touchdown in the first half, and they got so conservative in the second half, Godwin didn't get another catch. Baker Mayfield, second half, did extend a couple drives with his legs, ran for a touchdown. But again, because they weren't trailing much, they lacked aggression. But they still are using Godwin. Liam Cohen, again, talked about this last time, former Rams coach, he's using those tight formations. He's getting Godwin schemed out Rams style, as they've done to players like Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua. And as of right now, Godwin is so open. And Mike Evans is a superstar, Hall of Famer probably, but Chris Godwin, he might be in the right place at the right time in this offense, and I do think it continues. There may be people who roster Chris Godwin who may not think it can continue. If you make an offer, make a reasonable offer, and see if the person thinks the bubble's going to burst. I don't think it's going to burst. Chris Godwin is an elite player, and now he's in a system that actually fits his skill set. Another note, Seattle, they pull off the overtime win over New England. New England hangs tough. Give New England a lot of credit. I didn't think Ramondre Stevenson, I was all on him last week. Matchup was great against Cincinnati. Matchup was a lot tougher against Seattle this week. But he came through again. Ran for a ton of yards, got in the end zone. Ramondre Stevenson is playing well. Their left guard was out again. Didn't matter. He is just taking care of business, running like a man on a mission. And so keep rolling Ramondre Stevenson. Hunter Henry, we liked him in the start. Sisho got a lot wrong today, but that one we got really right. Had him as a top 10 tight end. And man, I didn't see him going over 100 yards. I did not see that coming, especially after Austin Hooper outperformed him last week. But I like the matchup. Hunter Henry is still talented. Last year, the offense was so horrific. He had no chance. So again, he'll be on waivers in a lot of leagues. And if you're really scuffling a tight end, it won't be every week, but Hunter Henry's as reasonable as anybody else right now, the way the tight end position is shaking out, unless you got Brock Bowers, of course, who's playing like Superman, and Trey McBride's playing great as well. The Jets eke out a win. Defense didn't look good. Second week in a row. All right, they played the 49ers last week. Kind of gave them some slack for that. Tennessee, the Bears manhandled them in the second half. Wasn't really going on. Jermaine Johnson, got carted off, might have been an Achilles. They better get Hassan Reddick in. I know that's got acrimony now, but they need to get Hassan Reddick. They need to get some pass rush, because if they lose Jermaine Johnson, which they already have, it looks like, they're not getting rush. They're not even holding up in the secondary. I just don't know what the deal is there. They're just off. They're not playing well. And Aaron Rodgers, he has a 60-yard game to Garrett Wilson, it was even 70 yards. I don't even think it was 70 yards, 57 and 60. That's all it was. And he hasn't got Garrett Wilson going. Rodgers, I know he was pulled in the first game. He hasn't gone over 170 yards. Right now, not so good. Jets are 1-1, so there's that. But that's about the end of it. Malik Neighbors, so good to see him get going today. Last week we said worry about him because when the blitz was coming from Minnesota, we knew Daniel Jones kind of freak out and just dump the ball to Wandale. This week, there wasn't going to be a pass rush from Washington. Malik Neighbors 8 had a monster game. Great to see the young man play so well. It's a reaction. Well, Kansas City did beat Cincinnati. I didn't really say that before, but I think we talked about the game a little bit in terms of that. Braylon Allen got a couple touchdowns for the Jets moving back. Breece Hall was on a stationary bike for a while in that game on the sideline. I saw Braylon Allen got a little extra work, I think, because Breece Hall was working through something. The 2 touchdowns Allen got, it probably ensures he gets a little bit of work each week. But again, Breece Hall gets it done as a runner, gets it done as a receiver, finds the end zone again. Great player, just incredibly fun to watch him. Remember, RotoWire covers all the fantasy sports. You can get a free 2-day trial with no credit card needed. Just check everything out. You can go to rotowire.com/pod and check us out. And we want to thank our sponsor, Locker. You sign up for Locker now with a promo code WIRE and receive a $50 deposit match. And thanks to everyone for listening. Come back next week for another edition of the RotoWire Fantasy Football Podcast.